When life gives you lemons, what if it's okay for it to be a bit sour? Why positivity can be toxic and stop you from really being content. By the way, before we get to that, if you haven't already, take a moment to subscribe and click the bell to make sure that you're notified about when these videos come out. I know, by the way, this seems a little bit crazy, saying that positivity? Why would that be a bad thing? I mean, isn't the whole of the personal development world, at its very core, all about being positive and thinking positive? And isn't thinking positive a good thing? So what if there's another side of this? And here's a good way to think about this. I'd like you to try an experiment and do it with me. Close your eyes and say to yourself, I must relax right now, in your mind. Okay, close your eyes. I must relax right now. And notice how that feels. And now, with your eyes closed, change the words in your mind to, I'd like to relax. I'd like to relax. And what's the difference in the feeling that you get? Now, when I do this, most of the time, people will discover that if you have the words, I have to relax right now, or I must relax right now, there's often an enormous amount of tension involved in that. Why? Because you're demanding something of yourself. Whereas if you have, I'd like to relax, it kind of is easier. It kind of more gently happens. Because in and of itself, the idea of I'd like to relax is also the possibility that it doesn't have to happen. It's not mandatory. And therefore, there's no tension involved. Think of it this way. Have you ever had the experience where perhaps you don't have any major problems sleeping, but you know there's something big coming up the next day? And I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. Where was I? Yes. Have you ever had that experience where you don't have any major problems sleeping at night, but of course you have something coming up the next day that's really important, a big event, a big exam, something or other at work that is really important, and you say to yourself, okay, tonight I've got to go to bed early because I have to get some sleep. And guess what happens? The moment you start demanding, I have to get some sleep, that's the night that what happens? You struggle to sleep. Because what there is a demand. Now, some people get so involved in the world of positive thinking, which can be useful, but if you become so entrenched in the idea that positive thinking is something that you have to feel all the time and have to do all the time, and you have to make the best of every situation, then there's an enormous amount of pressure in the system. And there's also a presupposition that negative thinking is somehow dangerous or bad or is unacceptable. I've often noticed that I'll often see people who are what I would call faux positive people, i.e. they go around and they're the sort of people that don't just say, you know, when life gives us lemons, we like to make lemonade, but they say, when life gives us lemons, we like to make lemonade with glitter and sparkles on it, because I always have to look at the best in every situation. Often these people are so deep down afraid of any negative thoughts. And whether we like it or not, negative thoughts are a perfectly normal and natural thing that happens. The only difference is if you're terrified of them, then when they appear, you're likely to move into anxiety or anger or frustration or depression. You don't really have anywhere to go. But if instead of being positive, overly positive all the time, you can just sit with the normality of it's okay to feel down sometimes. It's okay to not have to feel positive all the time. That can be a tremendous relief, and people are often psychologically freer when they have that kind of mindset. I remember a client coming to see me who lived at home and had an abusive parent and a violently abusive sibling, and there was all sorts of really difficult home life stuff that was going on. And the reason they came to me was they said they've read all these personal development books and There's this idea that they should be positive in all situations, all the time, but they're really struggling at the moment. And when he told me this backstory of what had been going on in his home life, I simply replied, well, what if it was just okay to feel that this was a bit shit? And he said that would really take the pressure off. What if you don't have to be positive all the time? Okay, you'd like to be, but you don't have to be. Because there's nothing terrible about feeling negative from time to time. If I taste this lemon, what if it's okay for it to taste sour and bitter, but also to bear in mind that that sour flavour will not last forever. It is transient. Instead of thinking about positivity as something that you have to do all the time, what if you could just notice that feelings emerge, thoughts emerge, things appear, and that's just okay. You can just be and let be. Hope this has been helpful and certainly given you some food for thought. Maybe sour food for thought, but food for thought nonetheless. As always, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the bell. I'd love to hear your comments, share your thoughts about these and any help and support that you want in the future for me to do videos about. I'd love to hear that too. All the best.